Hello, Craig
Hello,
and Eric. How are you doing today?
doing
Good. How
great.
are you?
I'm doing good. So with the new special is the first Peanuts musical in 35 years. Why did it feel like it was time to revive the format?
Well, yeah, it's 35 years, but I think this is really, in my mind, the very first musical ever done in the Peanuts animation world. The other one was based upon a stage musical that got animated, where we started from the kind of the ground up. And it wasn't like we decided it was time to do it. What had happened was we were working on Apple TV Plus specials under the Snoopy Presents banner, and we'd done 7 of those, looking at other characters and different life situations. And I just thought it's time to do something new. We were looking to kind of expand in the envelope, and I threw out the idea to Brian and Neil, my co-writers, how about doing a musical? And they had said, well, Dad, we've never done a musical before. And I hadn't. And then I found out that Eric hadn't. And then I found out the animators hadn't. But we all bonded together and came up with this idea and a story for it.
How do you hope you were able to honor tradition while offering a fresh spin on things?
The theme that's in there is about, respecting those things that our past, our history, our legacy. And so that resonated through many things. We'll look at the old Melendez cartoons, and there's a bit of like limited animation in there, but of course, we also want to keep it fresh and updated. And so, we did things that have full animation when we really needed to. So that was another thing. The other thing too is looking at Charles Schulz's drawings and seeing how he would do performances. And we also had the technology to do the line foil, so it looked like it was ink. So we're trying to take it through all of that. And then the music. And I don't know if I'm stepping into another question that you're about to ask or not, but the music from the old cartoons, the old specials, it's with Giraldi, and that also has a specific kind of personality. So with us here, it's like, Ben Folds is he's a punk rock piano player, and he plays with the band. So it was the logical thing to do, and we just love his music. He just fits Peanuts, the Peanuts so perfectly. So multi-layered about honoring, you know, the past and bringing it to this audience that we are today.
That actually what was one of my
I'm
next
sorry.
questions
I didn't mean to step
with
on that question.
with that with music has always been an important part of the series. How did having those two guys further enhance what you were able to achieve with the special?
Right, Eric?
Um, well, I mean, like Craig said earlier, it's the first time that we've done a special, and I agree with him. I think it's the first time, in my opinion, a real special that was an original created special. Um, we got to work with Ben Folds, and we also got to work with Alan Zachary and Michael Weiner. And it's a very special collaboration. It's a lot of going back and forth and talking about, hey, this song and this sequence. We also want it to tell the story, and it needs to further the story. It needs to like, give us a change. Much like Light as a Cloud, Sally is almost into loving the camp. There's the entry point with Lula May. Now, maybe it's not so bad. And then in that further discussion with Ben, it's like she has to make the change in here, and those lyrics have to get us there. They have to tell that story. It also has to tell Charlie Brown's story, how he's wrestling with the past, the present, and the future of what he has to do. So he's got to enjoy it now, and he's enjoying watching Sally make that change. Those conversations are deep. They're magic, and it's what makes you enjoy being an artist. And we were lucky enough to have those conversations with all of those musicians, and they would inform us what to do. We would inform them what to do, and that was just such a blessing to have that.
The special revolves around summer camp and its importance. How did your life experiences factor into the direction that you went?
Well, it was a personal thing for me because growing up, my parents sent me off to summer camp with my brother, a camp called Clover Leaf, and we renamed that Clover Hill, which was nearby. Seemed like it was in the middle of nowhere. Uh, Totally bad experience for me. I got there and I got stuck upstairs in this barn, laying on a dirt floor, getting stung by yellow jackets as we hiked through the forest. The food was no good. So I was one that called my parents up and said, "You gotta come get me. I'm not having a good time." And I went home. My daughter went through the same experience. However, my son, he loved summer camp. He had friends he met from for a lifetime. So he represents kind of Charlie Brown in the special. I represent Sally as far as, injecting our real life experiences into this film. So within that, we draw upon the story. But it's really all about story and messaging. That's where we start at. And the story is simply just as more of a camp is more of a metaphor for everything else in the world that, when it goes away, it might not come back. So
Mhm.
that's what we built upon.
Keeping things in the family has been an important part of the longevity of the Peanuts related specials. Why is that family bond so important?
Well, I think for every family, family is everything, and I always tell people, I ask them if you had to grow up somewhere, where would you want to grow up? I think people would love to grow up in Charlie Brown's neighborhood. I think, the
Hmm.
kids bicker and they fight and they pick on each other, but in reality, they're all good kids. And my
Mhm.
dad always said there's you can never have too much innocence in the world. And I think that's what Peanuts brings to the world, a level of innocence
Mm,
and love and kindness that we don't see every day.
yeah.
What excites you most about the future of animation?
You
Josh?
know, I think that the younger generation has more access to the tools to learn how to be professional animators. The technology is always changing for better or for worse. But I think that you know we're allowed to move a little faster because of technology. What we did here was we used a program that we can do some sort of puppet animation in a way because they're rigged like CGI. But when it came to doing the musical numbers where, the characters are dancing and they're moving in a way that is, dancing to the song, that's full on traditional old school animation. But what we are able to do that we couldn't do in the past is keep that line boil that looks like an inked drawing, like Charles Schulz's, or at least close to it. Um, and then the other part of it too is being able to do some compositing that gives you some incredible lighting and some depth. And that's also, I've seen some new applications that give it even more of a cinematic look. Um, so while we are, very aware of keeping things nostalgic, um, we're also able to give it a lot of new stuff. And I think that the future of animation, has that. We look at Spider-Verse and look at how experimental and crazy it is, and they'll create new technology for it. And we're seeing that that we're able to do that more and more. And I'm sure as we continue on with more Peanuts specials, I'm sure that we'll also do some of that stuff because you also got to be visually competitive, and
Mhm.
what's the new thing that you want to see visually. I hope that
Sounds
answers your
sounds
question.
yeah, sounds exciting. Uh, Thanks for taking time to talk to me. I really enjoyed
For sure.
getting to talk to you about the special. It's been
Glad to, Josh.
Thank you so much, Josh. It was a pleasure meeting you.
it was a pleasure meeting you, and hope you have a good rest of your day then.
You
And
too,
don't
man.
don't drink any water out of that tower behind you, okay?
Yeah.